What's up, everyone? It is time to discuss the Love Island USA Season 7 finale on a Down on the Island presentation of Down Once More. I'm your host, Matt, and we're going to go ahead and get right into it. The first thing I have to say, just right at the top, is that it is a travesty that Huda and Chris were in the Final Four. And the fact that I'm skipping to the end. There's a recap. There's spoilers for the episode. The fact that they were ahead of Iris and Pepe was wild to me. Because if you are going to get behind, which I said end of last episode, I voted for Nick and Alandria. But if you're going to get behind Nick and Alandria, but then say Pepe and Iris aren't legit, that is wild. Pepe and Iris also a lot of similarities between Nick and Alandria and Iris and Pepe. They started as friends. They literally came in as bombshells together, and everything throughout it, their conversations on their date. And at the end is Iris talking about how he became like her closest friend, the one she could count on, confide in throughout the whole thing. Because a lot of time when they first came in, Pepe, Iris, and Jalen were talking to each other because then there were the OG guys and OG girls were off by themselves. And if you're like, well, Pepe was clearly more into Hannah, and so jump into Iris, or Iris was more into TJ and jump into Pepe. But Nick did the same thing with Sierra. So the only thing is in the edit, we saw more of the stuff between Nick and Alandria, him picking her night 2 with the blindfolded kiss, and her choosing to kiss him on, I think, with the initial coupling up as well. But again, Nick and Alandria grew on me. I struggle calling it Nick Alandria because just the nicknames can be a lot sometimes. But ultimately, I am glad Amaya and Brian came home with the victory at the end. I think they deserved it. They were the only exclusive couple in the finale at this point. They live pretty close to each other. They have a lot of similarities in their background and their upbringing. It makes sense. The day after the voting, I was having some voting regret that I didn't vote for Amaya and Brian. So ultimately, I'm glad with how it ended. But let's talk about the episode and some of the key things that happened. The first thing is after the end of their dinner, the Final Four celebration that we got on Friday night, Nick and Alandria were talking, and he told her, hey, I don't think I ever actually told you, but I kissed you that second night in the blindfold challenge. Like, she was unaware up until this time, and I had honestly forgotten about it myself. All sorts of kissing going on in that blindfold challenge, and that was when Sierra and Charlie came in as the bombshells as well. And so just that other thing, that connection between the two of them. And then the other main thing that happened that night was the beginning of the end for Chris and Huda happened 3 episodes ago and has been playing out. But here they were all having fun, having a pillow fight, piling on Nick, throwing pillows. Chris threw a pillow, hit Huda in the face. She went down, said he hit her on the nose, and walked out. Now, I've said I like Chris. As a Chris defender, I will say he fucked up just from the get-go here. He should have gotten out of bed and gone and checked on her to make sure she was okay. She came in with the bandage on her nose and said, see, I have to sleep in this now. And then we get the real big turning point is when he is just trying to go to sleep and she just starts tapping him, hello, 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 and then says she's going to count down from 3 and goes 3. I mean, he can't give you a countdown to 3. I'm dead ass. 3, 2, 1. And then mad and being like, if not cuddling me, he's like, I'm just trying to go to sleep. Let me go to sleep tomorrow. I'm not about to be tired. Go to sleep now. I'm not about to be tired for tomorrow. And she's like, well, can you just snuggle me? And he ignored it. Should not be ignoring, but I get those moments when you're tired, but I also get her wanting some attention. He did not handle it great, but her doing the countdown like he is a fucking child, and then her saying, if not cuddling me is worth me being upset tomorrow, then that's the battle you're picking. Congratulations. Oh my God. And I'm like, yeah, there's no way they're making it to the finale Like, they are not going to be a couple here at the end. It's just is not happening. And guess what? As time told us on the date, not it. I want to add a disclaimer. I really like Amaya, and I am really glad. I think her and Brian are really great. But if I was getting faced with that energy first thing in the morning after getting, like, Islanders that have been dumped said they're getting like about 3 hours of sleep on average on a night, 2 to 3 hours of sleep. If I was getting greeted with that amount of energy, I don't think I would be able to deal with it. I can't. I'm glad these Islanders are young and love it and are such great friends. I would be going batshit. So, but they get the text. It's going to be the final date day. Elandrian and Nick are first. And if we're rating the dates, theirs had the most, I don't know. I felt like all the dates were unique in their own way and had their own spots, but they went to an island. There were a whole bunch of messages in a bottle, and it was messages from the viewers. Now, I think they did it on Instagram. It said, drop your messages for the Islanders. There's a chance they'll be featured. So they probably gathered, looked at them for all the different couples, and they were like, okay, who will be best for this date? So a lot of messages in the bottle. Then they sat, had some food on the beach, talked about their time. On the way out there, they were recreating a scene from Titanic, and I thought it was hilarious that Nick was the Kate Winslet one, kind of highlighting just the goofiness in their relationship. But when Nick was talking to Elandria, he's like, I call you my hard-boiled egg because you're hard on the outside and soft on the inside. I don't know that really works. And there's lots of things hard and soft on the inside. I've never used hard-boiled egg as the example there, so that got a chuckle out of me. But they were talking about going, Landry was talking about going to Florida and having dinner with his mom. Nick calling his mom by her first name, I guess that's technically true. I still call my mom. I don't call her Terry. But hey, everybody's unique and different. But then Alondra like, yeah, I'm coming down with Miss Jennifer. I'm going to have dinner. It's going to be a good time. Like, they were talking about seeing each other, and still, it seems like they're still going to be exploring things outside the villa. So good to see that. And then they got to walk to like the top of this mountain, this peak. And there were 2 other bottles and final messages. Nick was a nice long thing from his dad, just kind of affirming his choices and his decisions and how he likes Elandria and him together. And Elandria's were from her sisters, and it was really sweet. And they both, you could tell the messages really meant a lot for them, especially because those family members didn't make it to Fiji. They didn't see him the day before in Family Day. So I thought that was really neat to see how they kind of connected there. Back in the villa, well, and that really concluded their date and what we saw there. Back in the villa, Huda was talking to Amaya about her situation with Chris, and Chris had talked to Brian too and said he's just kind of over it. How Huda portrayed it to Amaya is, he just never does the physical stuff. I'm always the one having to grab his hand and put it over on me. He never like grabs me and reaches over, and the physical stuff and that kind of just attention is really important to me, and he never does that. And she's like, and Amaya's like, well, have you talked to him about it? She's like, yeah, I did last night, and he just ignored me. And I'm like, I don't feel like that's exactly what happened from the portion of the conversation we saw. But again, I get it. It's just a disconnect there. She wants him to be touchy-feely all the time and stuff like that, but not kissing. And he wants a little more kissing, but he's not always like a holding hands, putting an arm around, snuggling in bed, which I get it. I run hot. I will cuddle in bed. I am not sleeping cuddled up next to each other, because Huda's like, I had to sleep cold because he didn't. Like, I couldn't do it. Maybe that just makes me selfish. Luckily, I have a wife who is understanding of that, and so I don't have to worry about it. But highlight when the boys are throwing around football, they're talking about how athletic they are. Amaya said, my man got to be strong enough to carry me and my emotional baggage. I thought it was hilarious. I feel like Amaya I feel about 75% of her conversation is speaking in like the motivational type of posters, things. And she said a couple things on her date and throughout it. That's just like a cliche saying. That's not really a saying, that she almost has it. But like, even, I guess it's technically a thing. She's like, I feel like I'm Cinderella and I finally found my glass slipper. I guess kind of yes, but he would be your Prince Charming, not your glass slipper per se. But I digress. But it's just cute is one of the endearing things about her, I think, and who makes her her. Iris and Pepe had the next date. They went out on a catamaran. Talked about Pepe has a sailboat. He'd go out with his dad, and so he drove the boat some. They said for some nice production shots there. They went snorkeling. They were just talking. And again, Pepe said like he's glad Iris is in LA because they're both like in the same area. He said he knows she said that she likes to be like with her person and close, like long distance isn't her jam. And he said he does too. So it's nice he can drive up. Talking about first dates outside the villa, being an in and out and beach date. Got to do the stereotypical Californian date. I thought they had a sweet date. It was different from Nick and Alondre's. All of these had very different vibes, and I feel like theirs fit there as well. When they got back in the villa, Iris was talking about she thinks it was the best date she's ever been on. Pepe looked sunburned as fuck, but it looked like they had a good time. And I really like them together. I think Iris isn't as like emotive as some of the other ones and isn't as enthusiastic, but she's like even throughout this episode trying to comfort Huda and the other people there. And I feel like Pepe, to me, comes across, and I've heard there's been some TikTok things going on about him. I don't know, but I can't speak to all of that. He seems genuine. He seems caring and compassionate. So I really like them as a couple. And then when Nick and Alondra came back, they were telling everyone about their dates. Alondra was talking about Nick wanting to explore outside. She's excited for that. And then Huda and Chris got the text for their final date. It's nighttime, and they have both been saying to the different people, Chris to Brian and Huda to Amaya, that they're going to have the conversations and address these things with them. Their dinner is on a floating dock with candles all around in the water. So they go out to the floating dock, and Chris carries Huda out there, which is important for later. They sit down, and Huda starts out by talking and saying, hey, I feel like, because he's saying just nice things, which another thing, Chris is fucking up in kind of the way Austin did earlier and Taylor did earlier, just not speaking up and being honest initially, having it to get like probed and pried out of you. Which you can't be doing that. Like I said, Chris kind of fell down a notch for me. Still not enough for me to be Team Huda. She handled stuff not as great as she could have. Not as bad as she would have weeks ago. But the stuff in bed at night was just wild. But this, for the most part, she handled it okay. They're having their date. She said, hey, if we're going to want to try and make things work, you need to be honest with me. And because he's like, he started out giving a speech like, I found what I was looking for in here. I came here. I'm so happy for that. And we're like, we know how you're actually feeling. Don't make her probe and get out of you. You're like dancing around it. And I get you don't want to be confrontational, or as you're picking your battles is what he kept referring to. But you got just man up and be honest with her, dude. And Huda's like, yeah, we treat each other great, and like I treat you great, you treat me great, but we need to just really be open so we don't have any in talk, so we don't have any animosity towards each other. And she asked him to go first, and he says, well, I feel like about the kissing outside in front of your friends, you weren't open to what I was saying, and then my sleep is important to me, and when you kept counting down, talking to me like I'm a child, I'm a grown man. And she was going to respond a couple times, but then he acted like he was going to say, let me finish. And she stopped on her own. He did say, let me finish once, but for the most part, she had good self-control there, not just talking over, yelling over him. Growth. And then I felt like she didn't really validate his feelings. She just she's like, well, I like a man that's always hanging over me, like hugging on me, wanting to touch me, and like just grabbing me, putting his arm around me. And I always have to grab your hand and put it around me. And so you're not giving me what I need. I felt like it was trying to turn it on him a little bit, like Ace did with Austin in the Stand on Business challenge in that whole thing. And I feel like she has made so many steps and shown so much growth, but taking accountability, I feel like, is still the biggest thing that's just not there and lacking for me, and why I never could say that I would be Team Huda. But she did make a lot of growth, and hopefully that continues outside the villa. Therapy is a great thing. I advocate for therapy. I go to therapy. It's good. Everyone should go to therapy at least once. It's good. Good for you. Everyone needs it. Everyone can benefit in some way from therapy. That's my therapy, mental health matters plug there. But then they started like just fighting and talking about potentially breaking up. And this is where I think Chris really fucked up, is he's like, well, I'm still open, even with all that, I'm still open to do things. So you just need to decide. I feel like, you're just decide, just say what you want to do. Like, dude, you can say what you want to do too. You say you want to pursue things still, but you don't, based on your conversations and your actions. You're just trying to put it on her. So it's her being the bad guy making that decision, is how I felt in that moment. I felt like how he handled the whole end of this, I lost respect. But in the middle of that fight, the singer coming out and starting singing was a fucking hilarious moment. I was the timing, everything, like props to the producer. That's like, okay, go now, right in the middle of that. And in that moment, it was wild. And then Chris just picked it right back up. Like, well, just say what you want to do. Just say it. And Huda being like, I think we should just be friends. And he's like, okay. And she's like, well, can we still be cool in here? My friends are here. Your friends are here. Let's still be cool. And he's like, nah, I still need to try not to like you. So if I need to keep my distance, then just separate, then I might do that. And then he just got up and left. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that was immature. I hated that move. And then he came back and he's like, where are you going to go? And she was like crying. He's like, why are you crying? Why you know why she's crying, even though she's the one that ended it. Like, that's obviously not going to be easy. So disappointed in there. And she's like, well, are you going to carry me, or do I have to walk in the water? And he's like, I'm not carrying you. I felt like that was fucked up too. Like, suck it up. I get it. You may be hurt. I don't know who you were, but you may be hurt. But she has heels on, man. It's in the water. Just carry her back. It's not that far. Suck it up. Do it. So boo Chris on that move. But then that ended their date. Huda took her shoes off, went, grabbed champagne, poured herself another glass, and then started walking across the water. Awkward. Boo Chris at the end of that. And then when they came in, it was awkward how they were telling the different people different stuff too. We'll get to that in a minute. Amaya and Brian got the text to go on their date. Amaya had said the whole time, she's like, I really hope it's like a fairy tale that we go on. And so then when she got ready and she's like, I feel like the Dominican Cinderella, I felt like that was great. And like part of what makes her and endearing with everything, as she's like, this is going to be my fairy tale. How she just made everything. She had her Prince Charming, her glass slipper story metaphor all laid out. Very well thought out, and kudos to Amaya. But their date was, there was like a couch in the middle of the forest with a record player and a rug and a table that had a scrapbook of Amaya and Brian. It had baby pictures, teen pictures of their lives growing up, like what you'd see at a wedding slideshow. And they just really enjoyed it, and it was really cute. They had a great time with it, took a new picture together, and then Brian asked her to be exclusive. But Amaya, with her sayings, this is the one I was thinking of earlier. She's like, if my light is too bright for you, wear sunglasses or something. And then she's like, but you just look right into the sun. She told Brad. I thought that was cute. That was Amaya. But their date was really sweet. They slow danced at the end. Well, at least it was in slow motion. Assumed it was slow dance. It looked like they were slow dancing. But then Chris and Huda got back to the villa. But everyone could tell the vibe right away. Nick's just like, oh shit. Huda grabbed the girls, talked to her. Chris grabbed the guys. And Huda's saying, like, she's like, yeah, I always, like, he never, like, touches me or grabs me, and I have to wake him up to grab me. I'm like, well, she's like, I have to wake him up and grab him. I'm like, well, maybe don't let people sleep sometimes sleep is good. If I was getting woken up, I would probably not be in the best attitude either. Again, not justifying what Chris did. Chris fucked up this episode, don't get it twisted. I can criticize both people, it's still valid. And she said that she just felt like it wasn't going to change, and so she ended things with him. Technically, that's true. Chris didn't really have anything else said to the guys. He just did a shortened version of it. Alondria said later in the talking head, she's like, yeah, Hood is going to need support now with it, so I'm supporting her for that, but I really don't think she should have broken up with him. Essentially, it should have ended it with him. And so, because I could tell Alondria's reaction during that conversation was kind of like, what the fuck are you doing, girl? Like, what is going on? Like, he was good for her. She has grown, but come on. Girls went on a next day. They went to bed the first time. Girls went on this other thing. Huda made a deal. The next morning when they woke up, she's like, I'm free from the shackles of a man. I'm going to embrace all of you and how much I love all of you. And I'm like, you're free. Okay. Free from the shackles. Good. Great. Huda is free. Hip hip hooray. Girls going on a CeraVe spa day. We got our other sponsored content. We had Coffee Mate yesterday. Well, Friday. We're having CeraVe this time. It was wonderful. Not much happened. Iris and Huda had massages together, talking about how important it was to find friendship. Huda talking about growth. Great. Amaya and Alondria sitting on the edge of the pool, drinking some champagne, having a conversation, how much they love each other, their connections. Great. Awesome. Nothing too crazy from the spa day. But then it was time for the declarations of love. Everyone's dressed up. Everyone comes in. Iris and Pepe went first. Kind of the theme of being friends first, being there for each other, being so sweet, caring about each other, not picturing being at the end with them. Sweet, nice, good for them. Happy couple, kiss, go down. Amaya and Brian came up. Amaya talking about the fairy tale, finding her Prince Charming and finding her perfect glass slipper again, and him just being someone who always fills her cup and he deals with the waterfall of her emotions, I think is what she used, was just really sweet. And then Brian talking about saying that they're two misunderstood people who understand each other. And I felt like their speeches seemed very genuine and from the heart. Other people, like everyone else's did, but theirs just seemed so natural. They were very good at reading them and portraying their emotions. So in that moment, I was definitely like, I wish I would have voted for these two. But Huda and Chris, I thought it was going to be hella awkward, them giving their declarations of love, but they both made it about like positives about the other person and what they appreciated about them. And I thought that was really nice with how things ended and how kind of toxic the last few days were with the two of them. Huda making it about how he helped her grow as a person. Chris making it about how she's such a good mom and cares and everything there. I thought that was really sweet. And then finally, Nick and Alondria got up there and gave their speeches. Alondria's letter, she talked a lot about like not realizing it was him the entire time, and she was cheesing up there. Like I said before, I wasn't sure if I saw the emotion from her, but I think that could just be her personality. It's awkward trying to have these conversations, say everything, know you're on camera, know you're constantly being recorded, and just being a little bit guarded in her personality, but she was cheesing this entire time. Nick went and he was talking about how many signs there were that we missed, and he had always been her secret admirer, and all those moments and those kisses and everything. And they both had great speeches too, but they didn't kiss at all. They just hugged after each speech. And so still sweet, but we'll see. Like I said, they grew on me. I like them as a couple. I don't see it lasting long term out the villa. I'd love to be mistaken, but hope it works out for all these people and they're happy and people aren't assholes online. They're able to put that away. Whoever is managing their profiles for them deleted all the shit so they don't have to see it. But then Ariana comes in to announce the winner, but she chats with everyone first. She tells Alondria, she's like, hey, I saw the signs between you two the first night. And Alondria's like, girl, why don't you tap me on the shoulder and tell me? Fair. And so then they start announcing the winner. Fourth place was Iris and Pepe. And I was mad. I was mad, but it was Iris and Pepe. I can tell they're kind of disappointed. Handled it well, though. Third place, Huda and Chris. Ariana asked how they felt. Huda made it like crazy. We're in third. We're not even a real couple. Yada, yada, yada. We get it. We hadn't seen that when we voted. And I would hope that the people who had seen that, like if we had seen that before the vote, that they would not have voted that way. But I don't have much faith in America in voting these days. So we'll see. And then Nick and Alandria, Maya and Brian, final two. Boom, announced Maya and Brian. Fireworks. Maya and Brian do a Zoomies lap together around the pool. Really sweet. And I had said they do this thing every time where it's like one envelope has 100,000, the other has 0. The person gets to decide if they're going to split it. Each will get 50 and they were really there for love, or if they were just there for money and are going to keep the whole thing. It's the most, they try to build the suspense in the moment. Every time you know they're going to fucking split it. Like I said last recap, the only thing that would have been like, maybe not, is if Huda or Chris would have won. Then maybe they would have kept the whole thing. And that would have been electric. But it's just a pointless thing at the end of this. Like, get the money still there. But these people, especially when most of them are influencers, they're going to be getting so many brand deals off of this anyways. Split the money, like after taxes and everything, they're going to get so much more money in brand deals. It's not worth it for the backlash and the hate that you're going to get and everything like that to keep it yourself. So it makes no sense for them to ever not split it. So I think it's just stupid and they should do away with it. It's just, you're the winning couple, you get 100,000 between the two of you. But that was it. They announced at the end of it that the reunion is in New York and it will be releasing on Peacock August 25th. I saw somewhere else that was announced that Andy Cohen will be hosting it along with Ariana Madix. So that'll be some good old Watch What Happens Live experience thrown in there as well. And then they also announced that Love Island games are back and that those premiere on September 16th. So a couple of new Love Island things coming out. Love Island Beyond the Villa premiered today. It went live this morning. I haven't had a chance to watch it. I'll be checking that out. I will not be recapping it on here. I need a break from the Love Island recaps. I think this season of Love Island, this is the first one in a while that I have watched through and voted consistently through the whole thing. And man, I know I'm contributing to the problem with doing the recaps and talking about it nonstop on here and how worked up I get at times. But sometimes the fandoms, the stands, and the online stuff just takes away some of the enjoyment. Like some of the times I look back on the seasons that I've enjoyed most, like the UK ones, it's when I can't vote in those. I'm not part of it. So I just get to sit back, watch the chaos, and judge the vote without being like watching in real time everything happening. Like I'll just binge it and then it doesn't impact me as much. Now I was more upset this year than I have been others, which is ridiculous. I'm an adult. This affects my life, not even a little bit, but still get worked up. I get passionate about things. So overall, I feel like it was a little bit of a mess of a season. We had in the final four, we had all four couples that had only been together like a week and a half, which obviously like Amaya and Brian seem like a great couple. I'm glad they won. Nick and Alandria potentially will have, but like Hood and Chris aren't even a real couple. And so many things, like we didn't, the way Casa was handled and the way that there were never any dates until like we had more dates in this week's episode than we did the entire rest of the season combined is just wild. And then the hideaway not being used until the final two nights, but it also kind of makes sense because we didn't have any fucking strong couples. Like it was a rough season. It had some drama moments that were peak, but then I got burned out of that shit fast. It was just bam, 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 back to back to back to back with all the Huda and Jeremiah stuff and everything with that. Give me like 1 or 2 drama episodes a week and then give me the fun, goofy challenges. Like the boys just being goofy and having a good time there were some of the things that I enjoyed most about the season. But thank you for those of you who have joined in on the recaps. Hopefully you've enjoyed them. Hopefully you stick around. I got some fun stuff coming up on the podcast. Wednesday's episode, we'll be talking about the best musicals that are available on the different streaming sites. So this is a musical-based podcast first and foremost. It has just been overrun with Love Island recently because it's one of my passions. So thank you for those of you who have joined. Hopefully you stay subscribed. Hopefully you tune in every once in a while. we'll see if we do recaps next season. I may touch base briefly on Beyond the Villa and Love Island Games and the reunion. I'll probably do a reunion one, close it out in style. Why not? But thank you all. Love you all. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And don't forget to go down once more. Later.